Hey there, this is Joyce, content marketer and founder based in Hong Kong. I help those with an entrepreneurial mindset explore their full potential with content. For today's video, I want to talk about content planning and help those like slashers, entrepreneurs, as well as solopreneurs to decide how many pieces of content they should create every month in order to achieve their business goals. Of course, if you're new to this channel, be sure to check out my other videos, as well as leave me a comment, give me a like, and of course, subscribe. So let's get to it. Now, the first thing is don't confuse yourself between what a content plan is and what a content strategy is. I do have another video here that talks about what a content strategy is and how it can help you solve your problems. But do remember that a content plan is really about scheduling and planning out all of the outputs that you're supposed to do in order to generate the effects that you need to achieve your business goals, which is identified in a content strategy. So content planning is all about the output, the things that you actually need to do. Now, with that being said, a lot of people make the following mistake, and it is that they start all these different accounts online, including social media, and start blasting away with content that their gut feel is going to work. Now, this is not the way to do it. When it comes to content planning, you should really start off by the content strategy and then identifying what sort of content you need to create based on your target audience persona, based on what your brand is able to offer as value, before you even jump into thinking about distribution channels. So my suggestion is, in the beginning, definitely start with a content strategy, identify the content and the stories that you need to tell, and then it naturally tells you what method and what execution is necessary for you to take. Now, for example, if you realize that your brand is able to offer things that's more of a tutorial base, and that's exactly what your target audiences are looking for as well, video might be a great way to execute these pieces of content. But at the same time, carousels and slider images that goes through step-by-step instructions can also work. So remember to base your decision of your content execution on the content topics that you have prior to actually registering for any social media accounts. Now that you have your list of potential content execution and formats, do not actually start creating any content just yet. What I want you to do is look at that listing and ask yourself if you're able to consistently create these content formats over a long period of time. Now let's just go back to that example I raised earlier on. Let's just say that you've decided to create tutorial videos. Are you actually able to shoot a video every single week? Upload maybe twice a week in a frequency that is consistent so that your audiences know what to expect from you? If the answer is no, no matter how appropriate that content format appears to be to cater to your content topics, perhaps it's not the right choice for you. Because right here, what you need to understand is that consistency is just as important as the quality of your content, as well as what your target audiences are looking for. Now, you might ask me, Joyce, then what am I supposed to do if I realize that I'm unable to upkeep the frequency level of creating these pieces of content? What I would say is here you would need to think about this creatively. Let's just say that video is not really what you can do and invest your time in every single week, but carousel posts are. Now, with that being said, then you really need to figure out what carousel posts you can create that is different from what is already out there in the market. Add your twist and always look back on your branding. See what is unique about your tone and manner and the things that you can offer in order to differentiate yourself. And of course, consistently pump out these content to cater to your target audience needs. Then you should have a clear picture of how your content would potentially look like when it gets published and posted. Before starting on creating these pieces of content though, what I want you to do is think about yourself as a user. Where do you actually find similar styles of content being published online? Where do you think are the audiences that are accustomed and are interested in consuming the style of content that you're producing? Then you know exactly where you should be posting your content and what distribution channel is the best fitted for you. Instead of how a lot of people tackle it the other way around, where they actually start different social media platforms and accounts and try to figure out what content they need in order to populate their feed. Therefore, the next step is to figure out the best practices on these accounts. Once you figure out that perhaps your carousel posts are the best on Instagram, figure out what the best practices are in order to set up your account on these platforms. Obviously, with Instagram, you want your bio picture, and to utilize things like hashtag and different tools. That's different for every single platform, and it's very important for you to understand the best practices on the platform that you decide to use. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the algorithms and a lot of the platforms are striving towards the same goal. for people to use their platform as long as they can so that they stay there and help them drive up ad revenue for their platform. So therefore, even if you have the best content, the most important thing is to engage, to social, to actually use a platform in order to reach the most people organically. What you end up with is you know what content you need to create, how they're going to be executed, as well as where you want to distribute them on. Next comes content planning. As a content marketer myself, my advice is to create at least 12 to 16 posts per social media platform per month. That roughly equates to 3 to 4 posts every single week. Of course, if you were to search online, a lot of people would tell you should be creating posts to be posting every single day, maybe even more. If you were to ask me, my advice is let's be realistic. There's a lot of people who are able to pump out a lot of content in a short period of time, and perhaps that's the way for them to go. But for somebody even like me, I feel like I generate the best posts when they're slightly spread apart. So I have a bit more time to actually think about them and make sure that every single piece of content isn't created just for the sake of creating something. Although content gets updated rapidly across all social media platforms, which means that the content you published yesterday might not even show up on other people's feeds today, that does not necessarily mean all of your content is only going to stay alive for one day. From my observations across different social media platforms, there are different patterns. Let's just take LinkedIn as an example. Some of my posts that has generated engagement within the first hour still appears on people's feeds after 2 days. So that means that as long as the quality of your content is good, you can ensure that you don't actually have to publish one post every single day to stay on top of mind. The second thing is with Reels on Instagram. I have Reels that's from ages ago, all of a sudden gaining traction again. Now, my assumption is that perhaps the audio has again blown up and is trending. So more people are checking out that audio, therefore coming down to my content. Perhaps some of my hashtags got picked up. We never really actually know. But the most important thing for me as a content creator and a content marketer is that I want to stay sane. I want myself to be happy when I create my content instead of just feeling stressed out and bummed out with new ideas. Now, the second reason as to why I would advise creating 12 to 16 posts per social media platform per month is that by the end of the month, you're supposed to do a content review. And from the review, you want to get enough insights and data to tell you what content is working well, especially what content pillar is performing the best for you to adjust your strategy and improve your content for the next month. Now imagine if your pool of insights and data from the amount of content that you have produced is too little, then it's very hard for you to actually spot any content patterns. So therefore, the minimum is around 12 posts in my advice. Last but not least, 12 to 16 posts gives you a good room for you to actually create more when you feel comfortable, and also actually level down a little when you realize that your content is able to achieve the number of engagement and the benchmark metrics that you're aiming for with its quality, so you can actually cut down on quantity. Now imagine if you started off with 8 posts, there's very little that you can cut. And if you're actually starting off with already 20, 30 posts, it's very hard for you to scale up either. So therefore, I'm choosing this as a middle benchmark so that you can easily scale up as well as scale down based on the metrics that you've actually found from your content at the end of every single month. Are you actually interested in this topic about content creation, content planning, and content strategy as a slasher, solopreneur, and entrepreneur, and you want more information? Well, what I do have for you today is a free webinar that you can actually register and watch on demand right here on my website. In this webinar, I actually shared a lot of different insights and tips as to how you can actually schedule out your content and decide on what content works the best for you. So be sure to check that out. Once you've done all the things that's mentioned, now you're ready to move on to content scheduling, which is what we call having a content calendar. If you were to search online, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but the following way I'm going to show you has proven to help me gather the most insight across a single month in order to advise me what my best next steps are to increase the engagement quality of my content. Now, as a visual learner, what I spotted is that if you schedule your posts like this at a diagonal, not only is it easy to spot out the gaps, meaning how many days apart each of your content is, but also it covers every single day of the week. So throughout the month, you don't have to worry about not having a post on Wednesday or not having a post on Sunday, so you don't actually get a comprehensive view of if a particular day helps the performance of your content. Once you have your content calendar set out that way with content placeholders spanning across the whole month, covering every single day of the week, what I would advise you to do next is to make sure that your scheduled posting time spans also across the whole day. Now, I know that if you were to search online, a lot of people would advise posting your content during maybe the afternoon or in the morning. But what I can tell you is that it really varies between account to account, people to people, brand to brand. So the most reliable way for you to figure out your best posting time is really to test it yourself. Now, if you were targeting people like myself here in Hong Kong, what I've realized is that we're very active during 3 in the morning or even later on. So there's really no wrong time to schedule your post. Make sure to test it throughout the whole day so that at the end of the month, you can actually try and spot out any patterns and to see if there are any anomalies based on the scheduled time, the day in the week as well. And it is not until now, once you have all the things set up with your content calendar ready and paste, do you actually start creating your content. Now, of course, we were to go back to the beginning of this video, I mentioned the differences between having a content strategy and content planning. Now, my best practice advice as a content marketer is you should always start with your content strategy, because within that document is where it actually tells you what your content pillars or your open-ended topics are. Now, once you reach this stage in content scheduling and filling in your content calendar, out of 12 to 16 posts, you want a balanced number of posts per each pillar. So let's just say you have 3 pillars and you're aiming for 12 posts. That means 4 pieces of content per pillar. Why do you want that? It's because you want it to spread across all of the potentials that you can attain, so that at the end of the month, once again, when you do your content review, you're able to gather enough insights to justify and showcase the performances of your content and to spot out content patterns so that you know what is the best next step for you to take in the next month. How can you actually refine your content? The specific visuals work very well. Were there specific formats that has proven to increase engagement? You can spot those based on having a comprehensive and strategized content planning off of your content strategy that has been done in the beginning. So as you can imagine, having your content review at the end of the month is very important for you to understand how many pieces of content you should create and which pieces of content should you focus on improving or scaling up so that you create more of it and attain more of the metrics and the KPIs that you're striving for. If you're also interested in learning more about doing content reports and reviews at the end of a month, leave me a comment below so I would know, and perhaps I would create a video specifically on that. My next advice is for you to continually do this for at least 3 months. Now, given that you've actually started off with a comprehensive content strategy, good understanding of your target audience persona, stuck with your content pillars to create quality content, and deliver them in a consistent manner with unique value, what you should start seeing is leads coming in. Once you started acquiring your first lead, what you have is a set of metrics that you can use as a benchmark tailored to your brand. And you can back engineer from that. So let's just say you've acquired your first lead with 100 reach and 200 impressions, just to make it very simple. If you wanted to acquire 5 leads, then potentially what you need to do is to have 500 reach as well as a multiple of that in impression. Then you start gathering all these really useful insights to dictate what you need to do next. And if we were to boil it back down to content planning, if one of your pieces of content is able to attain a certain number of impressions and reach, then you know how many pieces of content you need to create in order to drive that one lead or that new goal of a number of leads. And that's it. That's the best way I think it is for any slashers, entrepreneurs, and even solopreneurs to decide how many pieces of content they should create every month. Of course, if you want more information, be sure to check out the on-demand free webinar from my website, link in description below. And if you do have any more questions concerning content strategy, content planning, or anything that's related to content marketing, feel free to leave me a comment below and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Until the next time.